So let's start with what is the gigantic news, of course. I am very big on schedule, you know that. Not just who you play, but when and where you play them. So tonight's news with the schedule release for me, and I'm sure many of you as well, just because it's going to be really nice to talk football stuff. This is a very, very big deal. We know LSU is going to open up September the 26th at home against Mississippi State. Now, I know that LSU has basically made Mississippi State its whipping boy for the better part of a quarter century. State has had some recent success. They beat LSU in 2017. Nearly got them in 2018. But for the most part, with the Wayne Matkin year aside, 1999, the touchdown that wasn't. But nonetheless, LSU's owned Mississippi State. And a lot of people are going to look at this opening weekend slate of college football games and think, not really much there. I think that this LSU-Mississippi State game is the most intriguing game of the opening weekend for the SEC this college football season. When you look at what the SEC has put together in way of the schedule, they have largely given their contenders a tune-up. And they're never going to say that publicly, and I understand why they wouldn't. But realistically, what the SEC has done in week one is they have given the contenders a tune-up. Alabama gets to open up at Missouri. Georgia gets to open up at Arkansas. Congrats to Eli Drinkwitz and Sam Pittman. You'll both be starting your careers 0-1. Kentucky at Auburn is intriguing. Florida gets to open at Ole Miss. There's Mississippi State, LSU, Tennessee at South Carolina, and then Texas A&M is at home against Vanderbilt. But of the contenders, and if you look at the top four, the top two in each division, Bama, LSU, LSU, Bama, Georgia, Florida, they all have layups to start. What we assume are layups, but I do think it would be so easy to gloss over the LSU-Mississippi State game and not think much of it. But think about all of the storylines that abound within this matchup. Number one, you've got the defending national champs opening up their title defense at home. That is always going to be intriguing, even more so when you have a good opponent as opposed to when LSU opened up at 10 a.m. against Appalachian State in 2008 as the defending champs. But LSU, Mississippi State conference game to open in Tiger Stadium. That's one. Two, how about Mike Leach making his debut in the SEC? And Bo Pelini making his return to Baton Rouge. So you've got Mississippi State installing a new offense, the air raid offense, which nobody really knows for sure how it's going to fare against SEC defenses. And you got Bo Pelini switching LSU from a 3-4 to a 4-3. New defense against a new offense with an innovative head coach who's quirky and sort of enigmatic. And we're going to find out if week one, Mike Leach can actually scare the bejesus out of people with this offense in this league. Because you're still going to have Derek Stingley. You're still going to have Cordell Flott and Elias Ricks and Jacoby Stevens and Mo Hampton and Todd Harris. I mean, you're going to have loaded up defensive backfield that this Mississippi State offense is going to be thrown against. Oh, did we mention also you've got KJ Costello and Miles Brennan? Two new starting quarterbacks for each of these teams. Miles Brennan, of course, has waited his turn for 4 years, waited for his opportunity to get a chance to play at LSU. Now, here it is. And as uncharacteristic a manner as we could have imagined with the COVID outbreak and delaying the season, and now you're looking at September the 26th for Brennan finally getting his opportunity. And on the other side, it's KJ Costello. How smart does he look leaving Stanford for his senior year? The Pac-12 has opted out of football in the fall of 2020. KJ Costello follows Mike Leach, who, of course, he played against in the Pac-12 when Leach was at Washington State. He heads down to Stark Vegas, baby. And now KJ Costello is going to get a chance to play week one against the defending champs for Mike Leach in an offense where he's going to sit back and sling it around the yard and see if they can't pull an upset. When you look at the week one schedule for the Southeastern Conference, I understand how a lot of people are going to be critical and say, yeah, there's a lot of duds. And you know what? There are. I don't think many people are going to get too pumped about Alabama and Missouri. I don't think anybody's going to be, frothing at the mouth to see Georgia and Arkansas. Yeah, there's some intrigue because you got a couple of new head coaches there with Drinkwitz and with Pittman. And yes, you could look at the Florida Ole Miss game and say, hey, Lane Kiffin, the Lane Train debut there in Oxford. Dan Mullen, is Florida for real this year? They got to open up on the road. So there's a lot of that makes sense. But realistically, when you're looking at it, I'll ask Jimmy this at the end of the show today. Are any of these games going to be within a touchdown spread? Probably not. You're probably going to have some very big lines to open the SEC slate there in week 1 because none of these look really compelling. But I think when you look at LSU, Mississippi State, that's the most compelling game. If there is one other that you could look at it and say, yeah, keep an eye on that, it's Kentucky at Auburn. Now, there's a lot of people who are going to be very high on Kentucky this year. And in part, they're going to be high on Kentucky because the SEC East is just begging for somebody else to step up and have an opportunity to maybe do something, right? It's been just dominated by Florida and Georgia in the East for so long now, and really Georgia, that if finally another team can step up and challenge, is it Tennessee? Is it Kentucky? Well, this is Kentucky's opportunity to prove that they belong. Can they go on the road week 1? Now they got a healthy quarterback. Now that they don't have a receiver, Lynn Bowden, playing quarterback, now that they're healthy again and return basically everybody from that defense, can they go on the road to Auburn and maybe pull an upset? On the flip side of it, Gus Malzahn's back calling plays again there within that offense. You got Nix now as a sophomore. Is Auburn ready to maybe challenge to win the West? This is one of those games for both that are statement games. Kentucky, if you're serious about trying to push for the East, here's your shot. Auburn, if you're serious about trying to push for the West, you can't lose at home to Kentucky. So there is some intrigue there. Kentucky last year was 7-5, 3-5 in the league, but they won their bowl. Auburn was 9-3, but they were 5-3 in the conference, lost their bowl game. So you have two programs right now that are sort of at a crossroads to see which one's going to accelerate and which one is going to maybe decelerate a bit. So we'll wait tonight, 6 o'clock. We will get the full schedule for college football. But as of now, we know the opening slate for week 1 of the college football season in the Southeastern Conference, and LSU will open up its title defense at home against Mississippi State in Tiger Stadium. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.